Nardle Baby, welcome in. Regulo, welcome in. Rick Sharp, Prax, hello, hello, hello. Alfred, what's going on? Ready to get this week started. It's been a long weekend, huh? Give me 1 second. I'm sharing this link on a couple of different Instagram and Twitter and all that, and we'll get started here in a second. I need some music or something, huh? Some waiting music while you guys hang out. Rolo, Patel, welcome in. All right. Chanel, Mike, welcome in, welcome in. Let me get my screen set up here and we'll get started. Okay, welcome everybody to this week's watch list review with Spartan Trades. Full disclaimer, this is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. Everything that I talk about here is just an opinion. If you're new to these sessions, again, welcome in. Tonight we're going to be reviewing my top stock picks for tomorrow. If you don't know much about me, I am a long biased options trader, so everything that I talk about tonight will be on primarily the larger cap stocks, and we'll be reviewing and analyzing for options trades. So we're going to talk about charts that have potential for tomorrow's session, depending on where they open. Then we're going to talk about some side charts for the rest of the week. Those are charts that may or may not be presenting a decent setup may be presenting a decent setup, but may not be ready to be traded tomorrow. Again, that's going to depend on where they open up in the morning. And then at the end of this session, I'm going to be opening the floor up to all of you. So you can ask questions here in the chat box at any time. I'm just not going to get to those questions until the end of the session. I'm currently on the daily chart time frame for /ES. I will always start my analysis on the daily chart to get the overall picture. I want to see the I want to see the most data here and see what the overall trend is and where the major support and resistance lines are before moving into smaller time frames to pick trigger levels and really plan out my entries. But for analysis sake, the daily chart works just fine. I think that if you analyze a trade or if you plan a trade and you're going with the overall trend of the stock, then you increase your probability or increase your chances of being correct on the trade when you actually take that trade. So what I mean by that is if you're a long bias trader like me, you want to be looking for stocks that are on their way up or heading to the top side, or maybe reversing or recently reversing. You don't necessarily want to be trading something that's coming down and trying to take a long position on it, right? Because you're going against the overall trend, so the chances of you catching the bottom and timing it perfectly and being correct are, it happens, but it can be slim. So better odds if you just trade with what the overall trend is. /ES, this is the future that SPY follows. This gives us insight as to how the overall market is moving. So last week, we talked about this range kind of forming right here, and we wanted to see a break of the range and a move into the highs, so that's exactly what we got. We have resistance right around, let's say 39.75, right around the 39.75 mark. So I'm just going to draw a trend line right there. The fact that the market made the breakout move and has pushed up and pretty much stayed green this whole time, it's good, but it puts us in a weird spot for tomorrow. So moves like this, breakout moves like this, usually don't occur without some sort of retracement. So here's what we're going to be looking for. Simply put, we're looking for one of two things, really. Either a new high to be made, so a break over the 40.38 level, right? That's going to be a new high. Or we're looking for a retracement down to some point of support, and we're looking for the bounce off of that support point for a reversal. Now, I don't know which one is going to happen, or if either of those is going to happen. There's always a chance that we range trade and move sideways, but those are the two easiest scenarios that I could put out right now. All right, so either a long over 40.38, which will be the high, or a retracement back down to some point of support. So those 2 points of support that I'll be looking for a bounce at will be this level right here at 39.75, because we understand that old resistance can become new support, and this was a fairly strong level of resistance. So I would not be surprised to see this pull back all the way to that point, but I would be surprised to see it break below and just completely turn around this move that it just made. So that would be the most surprising, to see it break below this price point. There's also a chance that it has some support right here, though, at the $4,000 price point. So why is 4,000 relevant? Because it's a whole number, and whole numbers often act as natural points of support and resistance. So a pullback to either 4,000 or 39.75 by open would be somewhat ideal, because then we can plan to play the bounce, right? And this is just that's just one scenario. It doesn't have to happen. The other scenario is that the market sentiment's just so bullish that we continue to push and break out and make a new high. So those are two just kind of rough plans that we have for tomorrow. Of course, we're going to have to wait and see what the market will actually do. But trading is all about creating if-then scenarios. So if this happens, then I plan to do this. So have a plan, follow your plan, all right? Here are my top stock picks as of right now for tomorrow. These are subject to change by the morning, especially if we get some sort of pullback or retracement. Number one is going to be Uber. UBER, okay? Uber. So here's what we have. First of all, it reclaimed that green dotted line. That's your 50 EMA. It's now reclaimed the 50 EMA on kind of like a bullish breakout play right here on the daily chart time frame. Remember, we always will start our analysis there on the daily. So point one is that it reclaimed the 50 EMA, which is that's a bullish sign, because a stock trading over the 200 EMA is considered to be in an uptrend. A stock trading over the 50 EMA is considered to really be in an uptrend. So it's had some resistance there at the 50. You see that that resistance line, and then we got the breakover. Bam. So there's your breakover. That's point one. Point two is it's breaking this downward trend line right there, again on the daily chart time frame. So this is a technique that I use to identify when we're getting a trend change. You can use it for uptrends or downtrends, works either way. So on the tops of the candles for downtrend, we get a breakover, we're in an uptrend. Bottom of the candles for an uptrend, we get a break below, we're in a downtrend, right? And you see the pattern continues. So break over, we're in an uptrend, and then break below, we're in a downtrend. It's not always that cut and dry, and not always that easy to identify. And of course, this is hindsight, but that's the strategy that I'm utilizing here with this downward trend line break. So I have my trend line drawn across the top at 61. Do you see 3 times this point has been treated, or this area has been treated as a resistance? So 1, 2, and then 3. That means that our profit margin to the top side is going to be around the $60 or $61 area. What's more is that even more relevant to where we're currently trading at right now, there is a gap. It's not very significant, but there is a gap between 57.56, which spans, look, we met that point right there as a resistance, spans all the way across here, up to about 58.4. Now, if we're looking at the after hours price action, we did hit 58 in the after hours movement, and if the market opens up higher than what it closed at on Thursday, there's a chance that this gaps up and fills the gap entirely without us. But in the case that it doesn't, this is what we're looking for, a break over $58 for the rest of this gap to fill, which would put us at a price target of about 58.4. But my opinion is that if this decides to fill the gap, it probably has potential to continue to run from there. So I think a price target of 59 or 60 is not unreasonable for Uber if it gets that momentum behind it, and especially if it has market backing as well, to continue to push up and fill the gap. Plus, it had a recent price target upgrade, so that's always good news as well. The contracts, one thing I want to caution about Uber though, especially for my options traders, the contracts for this week, the spread is a little wide. So I would probably be considering taking a trade on next week's expiration on the contracts. You don't have to, but it's something to consider, especially if you don't like taking those wider spready contracts. Ideally, you want to find a strike price that has something less than a 10% spread, and that may tighten up in the morning. It just depends on how much volume really flows into this thing, I think. So as of right now, my plan is to trade next week's expiration contracts. I'm looking for the gap fill and a continuation of this downward trend line to be being broken and the move topside. So a price target of 59 or 60 in mind. 61 seems a little bit unreasonable right now. I would be happy with a move to $60, to be honest. All right, so that's number one on the watch list. Number two, Netflix, NFLX. This is one that I have alerted multiple times to the team. If you're in the Discord server, you probably already know what I'm about to say about this one. So remember what I just said with the 200 EMA and the 50 EMA. A stock trading over the 200 EMA is considered to be what? In an uptrend, right? A stock trading over the 50 is considered to be really in an uptrend. So it was consolidating for quite some time between the $500 whole number and 530, building a range basically between this 200 EMA and this 50 EMA. That's your green dotted line and your blue line right there. You see the bouncing all in this range. It did break over at one point, but didn't sustain the move, came right back down. So now we're getting a break of this range again, a break of the 530 price point, and we're being met with some resistance here at 540, with the next whole number being at 550. So that's going to give us a $10 profit margin to the top side if this can continue to go. So what I like about Netflix is a few things. Number one, it broke the $530 level of resistance shown here by the range. Number two, it broke the 50 EMA resistance line. Number three, it validated the support bounce off of the 200 EMA. And number four, something that you may not think of, earnings is coming up on 4/20. So I know it's kind of far off. It's a couple weeks out, but stocks may have or can have a tendency to run in anticipation of earnings. That doesn't mean that they're going to beat earnings or move up significantly following the earnings report, but sometimes you see earnings coming up a week out or 2 weeks out, the stock might get some power behind it and a run in anticipation of earnings. That may be the start of, or this may be the start of one of those runs, right? So we're just looking for a move over $540, price target of $550. And then above that, maybe $555, $560. Things can get really interesting here if this can get over $550, because let me show you a different perspective. If we drew a trend line across these candles it looks like here we're getting that same break of that trend line, right? So using that trend line technique, I mean, resistance, 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 it looks like we're getting that break over. But the only thing about these trend lines is that they can be subjective. So I can make this look like it's breaking right now, but I could also make it look like it hasn't broken yet. Do you see that? And all I did was just change the angle of this trend line. So to be on the safe side, you know, it's been making lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and now we're kind of still below this high right here. That wick does count. So we're still making a lower high. So this trend line is still valid. That's why I said a move over 550 can get interesting, because at that point we'd be pretty close to making a higher high. And if you're counting this price point there, we would indeed then be making a higher high, which essentially is breaking this recent kind of downtrend right there. All right, so that's my analysis on Netflix. We're just looking for a move over 540, price target of 550 in mind. You could always split the difference too, you know, 545 or 550. For those of you that are in the server, the price targets, they matter, but they matter, but they don't matter. We like to take profits at around 20%. So, you know, if you wind up hitting 20% on your contracts prior to a move, you know, prior to the price target hitting 550, then by all means, you know, feel free to take your profits. The next one on the main chart watch list will be Target, TGT. This was one that was brought up in our live stream last week. Somebody brought this up, and you know what they said? They said Target's pushing up, because we only saw this candle, right? Or this candle. So they were like, yeah, well, Target's pushing up into the all-time highs. What do you think about a continuation play? So it was this candle, and my answer was this. We've seen Target push up, consolidate, and push up. What do you think could happen next? Consolidation, right? Because again, a move that's this strong doesn't typically happen without some sort of retracement, and this consolidation counts as retracement. In fact, this is better than retracement because it's validating support here at around 197 or 198, maybe 197, 198 area, with resistance at 202. So you have a very clear line of resistance, and this is the all-time highs, and you have a very clear line of support. So 198, 202, the whole number at 200. So it reclaimed the whole number, 200, and closed over that price point, trading just below the all-time high at 202, building a range on the daily chart time frame. The stock is, obviously one that's hot. It's been pushed up all the way from these lows around 170. So it looks good for a breakout move from here. If we don't get this breakout move tomorrow, it'll be on my watch list probably all week until we get a breakout move. So I would set my alerts at 202 and just patiently wait if you get a break over that level. So this is by far one of the cleanest setups that I've seen this week. It's by far my favorite setup of the week, with it, range trading on the daily, trading at the whole number 200, trading just under the all-time highs. A lot of momentum behind it so far. I would love to see a break over 202 for the next leg up. Typically, this is not one that would make my watch list as a stock that's to be day traded, but I mean, it's if a stock is hot, it's hot, right? And so it's like Walmart. It's not typically one that we would day trade, but if the setup is there, it's there. And it's been making larger moves recently, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't have this on our watch list for tomorrow. That's it for right now for my main chart watch list. I'm going to talk about some side charts, and all of these side charts that I mentioned have potential to make the main chart watch list. So don't leave the live stream just yet, because those can all make the watch list for tomorrow. In fact, they probably will. Some of them probably will, depending on where we open up at. So you're going to want to stick around to see those. Before I get to them, though, push that like button for me if this stream is helping you out so far. I don't think that I get enough likes on these streams, guys. You got to start helping me out. Let's talk about some side charts. While I'm doing that, feel free to post up in the chat section right here anything that you want me to review, and I will get to it. I just ask that you please format these review tickers like the watch list stocks that I've just given you. So give me a couple of levels that may seem important, and maybe a sentence or two why you're watching the stock or why you think it may have potential. I don't care if you're wrong or if you think your analysis is wrong. We'll talk about it. Okay, this is a no judgment zone. I prefer that you don't mention penny stocks though, because I don't analyze penny stocks. We don't trade penny stocks. Usually they're pump and dumps. So no penny stocks, please. But I'm happy to talk about anything else. All right, so for the side chart watch list stocks, the first one is AAL. This was called out last week in our server by Damon, and what a move it made. He caught it on this day. I think a lot of people actually caught it on that day right there. I was watching this as well, but I think I was too focused on Boeing on this day, and I wound up not catching the trade on AAL. But man, that was a beautiful, beautiful breakout move right there. So it's validated the 21 EMA, that's that orange line, as a support. You see it's been kind of riding that line up, support, 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 all the way up, pulled back, again, validated as support, pushed up again. So now it's kind of doing the same thing or a similar thing to what we're seeing Target do, where it's pushed up, not necessarily at the all-time highs, but it has pushed up and started to move sideways and consolidate. This is giving us a very clear line of resistance. We call this in our server a flat top level of resistance. That's going to be placed at $24.30. It's an obscure level, I know. If you've been trading with me for some time, you know that I usually don't say, I'm like, oh, let's not worry about that 30 cents or that 20 cents. Just round your numbers up or down. So a break over 24 there's a possible play there to the top side, but you have resistance at 24.3. So I think that 24.3 or a break at 24.2 is where you should have your alerts set to be looking out for this for the next leg up. All right, so I'm not interested in it right now. I don't care if it comes down. I don't care what it does from here, but I do want to know if it breaks over 24.3, because then it has room to run up to 25, and then over that up to 26. But one step at a time. Needs to break 24.3, so that's where my alert is set at for now. Apple. This one has been, it's a lot like Netflix, where it's been on this recent downtrend, compressed between the 50 EMA, which is that green dotted line, and again the 200 EMA, which is the blue line. Been making lower highs. You see that by my trend line, right? So lower high, lower high, lower high. One of the first phases or one of the first signals that you get before you get a trend reversal is consolidation. So we're seeing here that this is not necessarily making lower lows. In fact, it's kind of consolidating at the lows. It is making lower highs, but it's not really making lower lows. So that means that it is kind of consolidating, and that a break of this downward trend line may be valid. It just may not be ready yet. And in fact, that it's not ready yet. That's why it's a side chart for me and not a main chart. What we need to see happen on Apple for a true reversal to begin back up to the top side is we need to see a higher high be made, which means that a break over like 127 or a candle pushing over and closing over 127 or 128 is what we're ideally looking for. However, that doesn't mean that we need to wait for this to get all the way up here to take a trade. A break of the 50 EMA is a possible trade. There's a potential trade right there. So an alert set at 125 should do, or an alert set at 126, mine's at 126, should do for the move back up to the 128 area. And then from there you have potential to run to 130 and then beyond. So we'll see where it goes one step at a time though. So alert set, mine is set at 126 for right now. I just want to know if it's breaking that 50 EMA and moving to the top side. So the next kind of whole number above the 50 EMA is 126. 125 is like right at the 50 EMA. I don't want to be faked out by a move there, but yeah. So I'm patient, staying patient. I'll wait on this one to show me where it wants to go next. All right. Facebook. This is one that's been super hot lately. A lot of traders in the server catching this. So we caught it actually at the break of this range down here, for this move up to 300. Nice pullback, and then again this week ran all the way back up to and beyond 300, but couldn't close over. So we'll draw a trend line right there because that's a clear line of resistance. This is a side chart because it's looking a little bit overdone at these levels once again. Plus, we're limiting our profit margin here is limited because at this point, I don't know that I would take a trade over 300, and I don't know that I would take a trade over 302 because the highs here at 305 or 304.67, it's just overhead, and that's a likely level of resistance. In fact, that's a big level of resistance. So I'm patiently waiting for a break over. I want to see a candle close over 300. I want to see a break over this high, and I really want to see a break over 304.67, or we'll just round it up, right? A break over 305 will give us a play into the highs. So the reason why this is a side chart is because it's not there yet, right? In fact, it's not even over 300 yet. This actually looks like it may get rejected, to be honest, and then pull back some and then go. But I could be wrong, right? It could just break out and continue to run. So who knows where this goes from here. I'm not here to be a fortune teller. I'm just here to create a plan, and my plan is to trade this if it breaks 305. All right, so set an alert there, and stay patient. Wait for the play to come to you, right? Don't take a trade on what you think the stock should do. Take a trade based on what the stock is doing. That's the beautiful part about being a day trader. You only need to identify what the current trend is and then play it appropriately. The next one on the side chart watch list is Amazon, AMZN. We're seeing a lot of these FANG stocks do this thing where it's pulling back, range trading, right? So, I mean, look, Apple, pulling back, range trading, right? Netflix, pulling back, range trading. So all of these are kind of presenting a similar setup, but they're different stocks, so they're going to trade independently. The setup is somewhat the same, though. What I like about Amazon is, unlike Apple, it's actually broken over the 50 EMA here and trading just under the $3,200 whole number. So I'm going to draw a trend line right there. It's confirmed the bounce off of the 200 EMA right here. At least in the short term, it's confirmed the bounce. And for the first time in over a month, we have a daily candle that's closed over the 50 EMA, which may be enough confirmation that this is going to continue up from here. It may be. I'm going to wait and see. I think I'm going to wait for a trade over the $3,200 price point, though, just for that extra validation. Right, so I do have 2 alerts set. I have one set at 3180 because I'd like to know if it can get over these wicks. You see the wicks, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 wicks right there. So that first alert is signaling, hey, you should keep an eye on Amazon. Second alert is signaling you may want to consider taking a trade on Amazon. By the way, guys, if these push up really close to these trigger levels, let's say tomorrow Amazon pushes up to like 31.97 and closes under 3,200. The next day, do you think that'll be on my watch list? Yeah, absolutely, right? That's like how you can anticipate a break over if it's closed that close to a trigger level. That's why I'm giving you these levels now, because you don't need to wait for it to break over to take a trade. To take a trade on it, you do need to wait for it to break over, but to plan a trade on it, you don't need to wait for a breakover. Does that make sense? So just because it's down here right now, there's no trade on it really. There's no plan that we could truly set. But when it gets closer to this price point, you better believe the next day it's making the watch list. Especially if it's $1 or $2 off. For sure, we'll be making the watch list. So break over 3,200 is what we're looking for. I got 2 more for the side charts, and then I'll get into your charts. Microsoft just landed a big deal with the big contract deal with the Army. So it was in this weird channel, which looked almost like a bear flag, right? But it was still holding the 50 EMA and still trading over the 200 EMA. So I wasn't really sure if this was a bear flag or not. And the reason why I say a bear flag is because like the previous trend was down, so you see the channel, right? Either way, now it looks like we're getting, or could be getting, a break of the channel to the top side. From here, the profit margin just isn't there for me up to the highs. So clearly the resistance is right there around 244, 245, and 246. So I'm gonna wait. I don't mind waiting for a break of 246 to take a trade on this. Okay. So Microsoft is a side chart watch for me until it gets up to or close to or breaking over 246. Then I'll plan to take a position. But for right now, just waiting to see what it does. So it's pretty close, not quite there yet. The last one is Tesla. Side chart watch. So nice recovery here off of the 200 EMA, rejected at the 50, bounced off the $600 whole number, and rejected at 700, or again the 50 EMA. So just waiting for a break of the 50 EMA and over 700. If you were in my live stream from a couple of weeks ago, you probably remember when Tesla had bounced here off of the 200 and pushing back up. And so we had kind of analyzed that this was looking like a triangle formation at the time, and our play idea was a break over 720. That's still relevant. That hasn't changed. Tesla likes to do this thing where it like pushes over a whole number or pushes below a whole number and then fake out, right? So you see that multiple times here when it pushed over 700 and you're like, yeah, it reclaimed the whole number. It looks like it's going to go, and then rejects shortly after. So if you want to, there's a couple of ways you can play this. One, you could wait for a break of 700 and play it up to, whatever it goes to past that. I would expect to see some resistance though at 720. The way that I plan to play it is to wait for a break of 700. That's going to serve as my alert that I should keep an eye on Tesla, and then my confirmation trade will be a break of 720. So that'll be letting me know that it's truly making new highs and not lower highs. So I want to see those higher highs again, not these lower peaks that it's kind of been doing. Plus, that'll be extra validation too that it's reclaimed the 50 EMA and looks ready for a move up. Right? In fact, that almost looks like a double bottom pattern here, which is it's shaped like a W. And so a double bottom pattern is only confirmed when you get a break of, this is the anticipated move. So a double bottom pattern is only confirmed when you get a break of the neckline. And so your neckline is going to be right here in that area. And extra confirmation will be a break of 720. Do you see that? So there's still plenty of topside room beyond that point. Look, 880 is the highs. So I really don't mind waiting for a break of 720. That $20 isn't going to make a difference to me. We actually picked up some more shares for a swing on these dips. Cool. The only other trade, I guess, to review from last week as well was our swing trade on SNOW, SNOW. So if you remember the analysis on this one, I said it had bottomed. Looked like it could potentially be bottoming out at the $200 whole number. We liked that bounce over. We liked the reclaim of this downward trend line. A little bit of a pullback here, but is back up to this level of resistance around 240. That may be one to keep an eye on up to the $250 price point. Unity was another one that we were talking about a potential swing play on. This is another double bottom pattern, right? So bottom one, bottom two. We liked it off of these levels here, down here. And if you took the trade for a swing, you're up around, should be up around 10% or so. As of right now. So it broke 100. Looks good still, but still needs to reclaim this 200 EMA to be in the uptrend. So my next alert's set at 107 from here. All right, let's get into some of the side charts that you've been requesting. Thank you guys all for your time so far. Let's move up here. What do we got going on? Oh yeah, happy Easter to those that celebrate. Disney long. Okay, let's talk about Disney. Long at 191 and a short at 187. Could potentially make over the 191, but if it rejected, you would call it an early gap up to a morning washout. If it goes up, must come down situation. Okay, so I'm gonna just talk about the trigger levels that you're giving here. So let's first analyze Disney. Remember, we're on the daily chart time frame. Look, this downward trend line technique. I wouldn't teach you guys this stuff if I didn't use it. And man, I use this all the time. So it rejected off 200, so it hit the highs of around 203, rejected off 200, pulled all the way back to, guess what? The 50 EMA, which has been used as a support on the way up once, maybe twice, right? So once there, and then again right here. So it looks as if it pulled back, right? So we're getting this downward trend line, all these new lows, and then what do we start to see? Consolidation. One of the first signals that you're getting a trend reversal is, or can be, consolidation. So there's your consolidation. There's the break over. That's going to be confirming the bounce off of the 50 EMA. So you're saying a long over 191. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would work. In fact, I think a long over 190 would probably work. No reason to really wait for 191 unless you just wanted that extra confirmation. I assume you're drawing that line based off of these candles right here. It's tough to say because there's a lot of kind of like minor resistance points and support points, but 190 is the more round number. So yeah, I see why you would choose 191 just for extra confirmation. Disney looks good. It's not one that is normally day traded or you know, I mean, I guess it gets, Disney has like partnership news and there's reopening news behind it as well. So that's a reason why it can be day traded at certain times, but normally it's not one that makes big intraday moves. So I would consider a swing trade on Disney as opposed to a day trade. But if you like those, I think Disney's one of the slower moving stocks. If you like those slower moving stocks, then by all means go for it. Yeah, good stock right here. I'm glad that you called that out because I had already done a little bit of analysis there. In fact, I'm going to set an alert over 191 as well. Not necessarily for me to take a trade on. I like trading those ones that move pretty fast. But you know, if it gets the momentum behind it, then sure. You know, maybe we do see a bigger day where it pushes and breaks out. All right. There we go. Yeah, that's what I want to see. So try to refrain from making callouts like that. I prefer if you do something like this, right? Give me a sentence or two. Had a huge fall and been getting enormous volume. All right. Let's see. VIAC. Yeah. I don't keep up with VIAC, so I don't know. You know, I don't know what the reason is behind this fall. I would be. If I were you, I would be really cautious about this because all right, let's look at something down here. I don't really talk about these in my streams, but I do use them for analysis. This is the MACD indicator, and this is the RSI indicator. And basically what it's telling you is that the RSI is saying that if the stock is trading over 70, it's overbought. But that doesn't matter in a trend that's parabolic, right? So you see like back here it was saying it was overbought when the price was at $40 and it ran all the way up to 101. So that's telling us that the RSI by itself does not matter. You should use it in tandem with the MACD, right? So now the RSI is down here below 30. That's telling us it's oversold, right? But again, the RSI does not matter in a trend that's parabolic or being fundamentally driven, which this is clearly something that's being fundamentally driven. So I don't know what the news is. On a hedge fund got bombed out on VIAC, is what you said. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Are you planning on buying this for a reversal trade? I would be extra cautious on something like this. Look, and it rejected right at 100. See those whole numbers? Like even when there's fundamental news behind something, those whole numbers really are. They really are something to keep an eye on. So that being said, here's what I would do. I would set an alert at $50. All right. So it's still over the 200 EMA. In fact, it's right at the 200 EMA. So I would set an alert at $50 and say if this does bounce, because again, a move that happens like this, even if it's fundamentally driven, it typically doesn't happen without some sort of retracement. that includes the long side, but it also includes the short side as well. And that move that you would be looking for is called a dead cat bounce. So it's when a stock has really fallen pretty fast, pretty far in a short amount of time, right? So you would be looking, I would set an alert at $50 to say, this is confirming a bounce off the 200. It is reclaiming the $50 whole number, has potential to run up to like 57. Even if you're buying shares, you're looking at a 15% increase. Why did I say 57? Because that's where this peak was at, right? So the next, look, we'll just draw this line all the way across and make it easy. Whole number at 50, broke over 50, pulled back, treated that area as a support. So I guess if you really want to get technical, you could do it like that. Resistance, support, now new resistance, right? But I don't trust the move over 47.5 because I know the whole number at 50 is a likely level of resistance as well. That's why I'm saying $50 is a resistance point. So a break over $50 sends it up. Let's not even say 57.5. Let's just say 55. That sends it up to 55. You're looking at a 10% move. A good move on a stock, whether you're trading the shares or the contracts, is 2%. So you really only need this to move like $1, right? But I would wait to have extra confirmation. I wouldn't be buying into something like this as it's falling. That's just me. Do what you want, but that would be my breakdown. So an alert set at $50. That seems safe, right? Always want to go for those kind of safer plays. NEO, price target upgrade, looking for the recent hard bounce to turn around. Maybe. Let's see, NEO's been an interesting one. So it kind of looks like a double bottom pattern here as well. This one actually made our watch list last week, and I was saying that it was a play that could be taken instead of Tesla because it's kind of moving or was moving similarly to Tesla, right? So if we're talking about sectors and sympathy plays, obviously both the EV sector, I know they're separate stocks, they're moving independently, but the sector came, look, Tesla came down, right? So double bottom and then pushed up and came down. Now look at NEO. Double bottom, pushed up, and then came down, right? So they're moving similarly. I have an alert set at $42. I think that this does have potential to push back up to the 50 EMA, which is going to be the neckline of this double bottom. I like the fact that it's bounced off of the 200 EMA, but what it needs to do is continue to hold this 200 EMA as a support because there's not much support below this price point until $28 to $30. So if it breaks these lows, it has potential to really fall and come down even more. I don't know where it goes from here. I think a play over 42 is possible, up to 46. And again, it's so cheap, you really only need it to move $1 if you're planning on a day trade. But right now, with the EV with it going red on a day where SPY was pushing and breaking out, you want to find stocks that have the market backing and that are kind of following, not necessarily following the market, but definitely not moving against it, right? And these were moving against it. So tough to say. Keep an alert at 42 and 46. Definitely you want to have an alert set at 46, if anything. Wait for a break of that neckline. Price target 1 will be $50 if it reclaims that 50 EMA, and then above that we'll see where it goes. All right, so somebody asked me if I could go over Apple. I actually already did, so let me type this up here. We've already talked about Uber. We've talked about Netflix. We've talked about Target. We talked about AAL, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, right? So those are the ones that we've already mentioned. If you're tuning in, if you're just now tuning into the stream and you're late, if you want to see my breakdown on Apple, this will be available to you for the next 24 hours. So you just go back and rewatch the beginning of the stream, and I give you my full breakdown there. NXPI, that's not one that I've heard of before. And let's see, if it's a penny. Okay, so it's not. Oh, gotcha. Semiconductor. Okay, so here we go. Pushing up 210. I've never done any analysis on this before. So it's over 200. We're going to look at the weekly chart. Actually, I'm going to back this up. If I have never done analysis on something before, I will back it up to the weekly chart and go to the max available just to see, are we truly trading at the all-time highs if it looks like the all-time highs on the daily. So I would just be looking for a break of 209.59 from here, although this move looks a little overextended right now. So it does tend, like stocks move in waves, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Resistance. Where can we go from here? Potentially down a little bit, right? Maybe retest 200 as a support one time. Build a base, maybe consolidate before breaking over. So I would keep alerts set at 210. Anything trading close to the all-time highs, very easy to do analysis on, especially if you're a day trader. You'd just be looking for a break of 210. Although the intraday volume here seems fairly low. So like I wouldn't day trade this, I don't think. You're asking about DB. So somebody asks, is DBX a bull flag pattern? Let's talk about that. On which time frame? Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, absolutely. There's your bull flag right there. So this is your flagpole. This is your pullback, your channel back. This looks like the breakout right there. A few different ways you can play this pattern, but it does appear to be breaking out right now. Nice. Sometimes patterns are a little more clear on the weekly chart. There's your resistance at 29 as well. Remember, old support can become new resistance. So break over 29 and 30, that can get interesting. But I would expect some resistance in that area, especially at the top of this bull flag too. Prax, thanks as always. Yeah. Thanks for watching. You're probably one of the. I don't know. I'm sure there's a few of you that are here every week, but I know for sure Prax is always here. He's always active in chat. Or they're always active in chat, rather. PLTR just got a contract for 89 million. Yeah, I actually heard about that. PLTR. Here's the thing, though. I can't see how the stock's going to react to that news. So I think that news is important to understand why a stock is moving. But I don't think news is a reason for me to base a trade on. And that's just my 2 cents. That I know there are traders that would say, there are people that would say technical analysis doesn't work, right? And like 90% of the trades that I analyze everything's all technical based. But there are traders out there that say technical analysis doesn't work. Patterns are fake. Patterns don't work. And I would beg to differ, right? So I'm not saying that news doesn't work, but I'm saying that based on what you see right now, or what was put out over the weekend about PLTR having news and what we see right now, I don't see the stock price reflecting any change based on that news right now. Now, in the morning, there probably will be, or maybe will be, an up gap because of that news, right? That sounds like bullish news. So sure, if there's an up gap on PLTR tomorrow, I will plan to trade it maybe. I like PLTR. It's one of those stocks that's very cheap, or fairly cheap, but makes big moves. I mean, we're looking at 5% moves intraday like all the time, right? 1, 2, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days in a row. I like PLTR. Contracts are usually cheap, makes big moves, seems to have really good volume. If it has bullish news and it gaps up, sure, I'll consider putting it on the watch list. And a lot of the traders in my server know how to trade a gapped up stock. So there are certain strategies that you can use and implement. But I'm just saying, as of right now, I don't see any change or reflection of that news in the stock price. So I can't base my trade on it or around it. You see I have an alert set at 26, so I mean, if it opens up at or near 26, maybe I'll plan to take a trade, right, with a price target of like 27 or 28 in mind. But yeah, for right now, I don't see anything until the morning. That's one of the benefits of being in the server and being an upgraded member in the server is like, somebody told me one time, not too long ago, that I put out too much free information. And I was a little bit upset about it at first, but then I was thinking and I was like, well, that's kind of the point, isn't it? To put out all this free information because people don't educate themselves enough on the stock market because they don't know maybe what to look at or what to look up. So there's people out there that are more experienced that put out this stuff so that you can learn. And all you have to do is just pay attention and put in the time. And I guarantee you'll learn, especially if you're following me on like any of my social media, really. Even just tuning into the live streams, there's probably something that you could pick up, some technique that you could pick up and learn. So yeah, I mean, they said that I had put out too much free information, and I was like, well, that's kind of the point. But if you're an upgraded member in the server, there's more that you get than what I just put out for free, because you don't get to see how I adjust the trigger levels in the morning or which stocks actually make the watch list. You know, right now we may be saying Netflix looks like a long idea over 240. Well, what happens if Netflix gaps up to 250? Do we still put it on the watch list, or do we choose something else? Or do we adjust the trigger? How do we adjust the trigger levels, right? And so you don't have to worry about all that because I do it for you. And what's more is I put out comments on all of these stocks that I put on the watch list so that you can learn, because that's the basis. You have to learn, right? That's the whole point of all of this. To learn this stuff, not just to follow it, but read the comments, figure out how I'm doing this, learn it. I have a very, very, very streamlined and systematic approach to this stuff. And it does take a while to pick up. I understand there's a big learning curve with trading, but yep, the upgrade is worth it, and being in the server is worth it. I don't think that I put out too much free information, but if I do, then somebody stop me, please. All right, let's talk about DYMD signed an exclusive deal with the NFL to provide data and stats. DYMD. I don't know what DYMD is. That's not even, yeah. Okay, so we'll skip that one. Thanks so much. You won't buy Viac because of bad news. And also, what are my favorite indicators? There is a video on my YouTube channel. It's called How to Set Up Thinkorswim. Look that up. I talk about all of my indicators. DKNG could be good too as New York gets closer to legalizing sports betting. New York's legalizing everything, huh? Pot, sports betting, they're going crazy. All right, so here's my analysis on DKNG. It's still holding this uptrend here. So it's still considered in an uptrend. You see the support, right? Dynamic level of support. It has broken below the 50 EMA, but it's kind of trying to reclaim it here, although this looks a little bear flaggish to me, right? So there's your flagpole, there's your bear flag. It could reject, and if it breaks below and makes a new low below 58, watch out, right? Probably has potential to come back down to $50. That's going to be the 200 EMA. The other side to that is, a break over like 64 or 66 could send this into in an uptrend. Just because a pattern is bearish or bullish doesn't mean it has to break down or out. And this is a bear flag, so it doesn't mean it has to break down. It could easily break out, right? This actually could be reversing and confirming support. But as of right now, I don't see. I don't see, or I can't tell what it's going to do, right? So I can't tell if this is going to break out or break down. So I'm just hanging tight and waiting around. I would wait for a break of 66 though before taking a trade on DKNG. All right. We're going to talk about one more because we're getting close to that at 1 hour mark. If I didn't get to your stock, I apologize. Shoot me a DM and I'll be happy to review it for you. But yeah, let's talk about the MRO. Adrian, nice, welcome in. He's one of the play callers within the server. MRO broke the daily trend line on heavy volume on Thursday. Looking for a break of 12 for the continuation move to 1250. This week's 12 contracts are dirt cheap. Let's see, MRO. There you go. Marathon Oil. Okay, so nice healthy uptrend using the 50 EMA as a line of support all the way up. So if we just draw a rough line, that's what it would look like, but we don't need to because the 50 is there, right? So there's your support, 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 and support bounce, right? So breaking the downtrend on the daily. So it could look a couple of different ways. Initially, it would look like that, and then there's your breakover, consolidation. In fact, that would be a range, and then big breakout of the range on heavy volume, just like Adrian said. Looking for a move over the whole number at $12 because that was a previous level of resistance, right? So move over 12 for the run up to the next level of resistance at 12.50, and that's all you need. That's going to give you a 4% profit margin. In fact, you only need this to move half. 12.25 would do. That's a 2% move. Great analysis, great stock. I think that that's well done, Adrian. So thank you for calling that out. I'm going to set an alert over 12 on that one as well. All right, guys. Again, if I didn't get to your comment, I apologize. We're just running out of time here. So shoot me a direct message, and I'll be happy to answer that. I answer all of my direct messages, and it is actually me. You know, it's not some bot. Again, thanks for your time. I hope that these sessions help you out. Push the like button for me if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the channel. I go live every week. I post videos every so often throughout the week. I appreciate your support. Let's make some money tomorrow. If you tuned in late to the live stream, I have everything recorded. It will be available for you to view in its entirety as soon as we end the stream. All right? I will see you all in chat in the morning. Let's make some money.